Hello everyone and welcome to this week's edition of Reino de las Mascaras, the Kingdom of the Masks. I am your host, as always, of ReyDeMascaras, and as you can tell today, we're jumping right into it. It's been a busy couple of weeks here, busy traveling, busy shows, so finally got a chance to take a quick breath and pump out a new episode. So I want to do that. I want to just jump right in. Don't really need to do any mask switching, anything like that. We're just going to jump right into today's subject and knock it on out. So it might be a little bit shorter of an episode due to that, but we're just going to roll with it here as my beard comes spilling out. All that time I spent tucking it in there, and look what it does. It just comes flying out here. So anyway, so this week marks 20 years of the Mistico character, one of the most iconic characters of modern lucha libre, and one of the most iconic luchadors who has portrayed that character. Now, for those who, may be relatively new to lucha libre, don't follow it quite as close as someone like myself, yes, there were a couple of different Misticos. Truth be told, more than that. The name Mistico, whether it be spelled with the M-I, or Unico, Incognito, as he was also known as, also portrayed the Mistico character in Juarez with the spelling of M-Y. He lost kind of a famous legal battle over the rights to use that name, and kind of in a twist of irony then, when he was with WWE, ended up becoming the second Sin Cara. So he was the second, I don't want to say knockoff or bootleg or whatever negative term you want to put onto it, but the not the famous Mistico, and then initially not the famous Sin Cara. Obviously, he portrayed the character longer than the man we know as Mistico did. So 2004, Mistico arrived in CMLL, really took CMLL by storm, really led to a bit of a resurgence for the promotion. It's been, as of this year, it'll be 91 years, so it's hard to say it was like, struggling or anything. It really wasn't, but AAA was getting a lot of the press at that time. So Mistico coming in really gave a little bit of a resurgence, especially on the stateside and international levels. Once Mistico was there and started gaining traction and popularity, it just kind of took off from there. So for me, I started becoming familiar with Mistico around 2006, 2007 is when I started seeing his matches with Averno, and that kind of led me to start taking on more of an interest in modern lucha libre as a whole, and not just one luchador here, one luchador there. So as time went on, 2010 was another big momentous year, because Mistico teamed with longtime rival Averno in the Tournament of the Incredible Pairs, in which a Technico and a Rudo team up together. And usually the high profile teamings on that tournament, usually it's to lead to a match. They're just not going to get along, and it costs them the tournament, and we're going to have a match because of it. Things did not go that way, and Mistico actually ended up turning Rudo, which was unfathomable at that time. I remember seeing the headlines and thinking to myself, this has to be a misprint, this has to be a clickbait, and no, it wasn't. So the fact that the top Technico for almost 6 years at that point, it was a good solid 5 years, had turned, was incredible to see. And so that really piqued my interest and solidified my interest in CMLL, as at that time, they had a slew of amazing talent, not limited to the likes of La Sombra, the likes of, that's where I became familiar with Ultimo Guerrero, Averno, guys like that, and then especially Mascara Dorada. It's the first time I started seeing him, and I was absolutely floored by the aerial expertise that he would show. And so, obviously we know Mistico signed with WWE in 2011, took on the moniker of Sin Cara. The run didn't go very well. I've got my thoughts on that. It's not for me to talk about on a mask-based, webcast, whatever you want to call this show that I do every week. But I've got my feelings. I think blame lies on both sides. If I'm going to leave it at that. It's one of those things I can talk very in depth on, but we're here to talk masks, not necessarily my opinions on what worked and what didn't work. So when Mistico went to WWE, CMLL did continue the Mistico character, and the character was portrayed by the original Dragon Lee. And so the Dragon Lee we know in WWE today was essentially Dragon Lee 2, is what it was known as. And obviously that, changed the trajectory on a few different fronts, because CMLL had their new Mistico, which was a little bit divisive. I remember, some fans were all for it. Some fans were, oh, okay, this is cool. And others were like, nah, this isn't what we signed up for. And so when the original Mistico returned to become and rejoined CMLL, he became Caristico at that time. And then when the man we now know as Dralistico left CMLL and thus left behind the Mistico mask, the original Mistico stepped back in, and the circle had been completed, so to speak. So to get into the mask itself, when I started collecting, this mask was something that I was like, I need a Mistico mask in my collection. It's kind of like, if you're a mask collector, more often than not, you need a Rey Mysterio in your collection. So this is a semi-pro. It's very nice fitting, but I love, the silver, the gold. And it's like, again, for me, it's like I have to have a mask like this in my collection to feel completed about my collection. So this is the only one of the what you would call the original Mistico that I have in my collection so far. I do have a silver gold split face. I've talked about that before. It's signed by Mistico himself, so definitely one of my favorites in my collection there. So, but yeah, that is the mask we're highlighting this week, again, to highlight 20 years of Mistico in CMLL. So we got some big matches coming up starting tonight. Yes, I filmed this earlier this morning due to Time Bomb Pro last night. So a Friday film, Friday upload kind of show here today. So with that, I'm going to wrap it up here. I got another busy weekend coming up, and then hopefully things will kind of settle down a little bit next week. Things will kind of go back into the regular, regular sequence and cadence and whatnot. So with that said, everybody have a good week. As always, thank you for joining me. Like, comment, subscribe, and we'll just keep doing this every Friday here, folks. So until next time, live, laugh, love, and Lucha Libre. We'll see you.